Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I am absolutely exhausted. Okay, didn't realize that was a pole. Anyways, Ella is in the bedroom. I'm in Tim's room. She's just kind of watching her tablet, chilling out today. She had a pretty rough day. She got a decent amount of sleep last night. She was in bed sleeping by 11, which isn't normal. Like normally on a school night, she goes to bed at 9 o'clock. Like she'll go into her room, stay up until maybe 9:30, and then she's asleep. But last night there was a lot going on here. So she ended up falling asleep until probably 11:30 or about 11 o'clock. But she slept all the way through until 8 o'clock this morning. So she got about 9 hours of sleep, which is a good amount of sleep. Normally she gets about 11 hours. So she lost a couple of hours, but it's not the end of the world. But last night our friends were going out to Buffalo Wild Wings for dinner. And we decided we were going to get some takeout from there, and they were going to bring us food because it was late. I was starving, but I did not have the energy to cook after I had to do everything at home. So not only did I reorganize like my freezer and all kinds of stuff yesterday, we ended up tearing down part of our wall. I'll show you guys here in a minute. Tim put all of this stuff on my freezer, my deep freezer, and now I can't get to the stuff to get the steak. I'm making steak and shrimp tonight, like a surf and turf type deal, but this needs swept up really bad. This deep freezer is gonna have to be moved. It's just, there's so much stuff right here. Like, there's a lot happening right now that we gotta do something. But like I said, I'll show you guys here in a second what we were doing last night and why there's stuff all over my deep freezer and all over the floor, and explain to you what happened last night. I had to become a doctor last night. Cut my steak. I also have a garbage bag in here of food that was in the kitchen freezer, that old, expired, you know, what have you. But I needed more room out here, and so I went through, and the stuff in that bag is like freezer burnt. Like, it's no good, so I'm just gonna throw it away with garbage tomorrow. But I wanted to keep it frozen until then, because obviously, like, it gets a little warmer here during the day. Everything's starting to dry up, so I don't want it to thaw out and leak everywhere. Obviously, I don't want it to thaw out in my house. So the food is still good, like, it's still frozen stuff. It's not like it was nasty or whatever. I just threw it in the deep freezer for right now, just so I had my kitchen freezer organized, because out here, like, I don't know if I know the deep freezer or this freezer, but it was really full. But now we've got some extra space and I've got it organized. I know exactly where everything is. If you guys eat Charleston chews, do you guys freeze them too? Because I do. But you know, now everything's in here organized. I know where everything's at. So now I don't have to worry about that, and now my brother-in-law can go and get some stuff that he may need. And once that bag gets out of the deep freezer tomorrow for garbage, it'll be so much better. However, so what, baby? I think Ella just called for me. Did you call for me? What? Did you drop your juice?
Yeah.
I'll get it.
My hand was slippery.
Your hand was slippery. That's alright, I got you. Here you go. Anyway, I heard her call for me. But last night after we put Ella to bed, Tim wanted to get the wood burner out of here. So if you guys remember, we had this area here with this tile. It was on the floor and on the wall and everything. And there was a wood burner in the middle of it. It was here when we moved in. We used it for a few years, but up until, like, we used it from the time we moved in until Ella was about a year old, when she started getting more mobile. That's when we stopped using it because it was just too much of a risk. We didn't really use it to burn wood because the only wood we could get around here at a decent price was pine, and obviously pine's not good to burn inside your house. So we just stopped using it. We would use it to burn like old furniture type things, like that we had broken down. Like, we had an entertainment center here not long ago that I had tried to sell on Facebook. It didn't sell, so Tim took it out and burned it outside, but that's something that he would have cut down and just burnt in the wood burner. We didn't use it very often because we just didn't need to. We more or less just used it on the days where it was really, really cold, like the bout of cold weather that we had where we were in like the negatives. That's when we would have used it. So Tim took it out, and now we were left with this tile. He was gonna try and take it down like tile by tile and save it and take it over town for his father-in-law to use, or his stepfather, sorry, stepdad, whatever, my father-in-law, for him to use over there if he wanted to use it, because he wanted to keep the wood burner. You know, my father-in-law wanted to keep the wood burner that we had in here. We said no problem. You know, the pipe that connected the wood burner to the vent that goes outside was all rusted and had holes in it, so obviously he wasn't going to be able to keep that. He just has to buy some new tubing or piping or whatever, but that's no big deal. But like, that wood burner, it's older, it's heavy as all get out. It's probably like 500 pounds in and of itself. So, you know, we had no issues. We stored it over here since Tim took it out 2 or 3 years ago. When we started the renovations and got like our walls and everything fixed. So we did that, and then they ended up taking it over town last night. But between everything, like, we're trying to declutter, to get rid of stuff that we don't need, get ready for spring, because as soon as spring hits, we're going to be tearing all of this pretty much out. I'll explain to you guys here in a second, but last night Tim knocked down all of this rock on the back wall where the wood burner was. The next step would be to remove all of this stuff here, but we're gonna do that at a later date. It's not bothering anything right now. I think one of these days when Ella's at school, we're gonna demolish this out. But whoever put this stuff up did not do it right, so Tim wasn't able to save it. They had so much cement back there. It was like 1.5 inches thick of cement. It just, like I said, it was not done properly. It was done very poorly. He was gonna hope he was able to save this drywall, but I don't think he's gonna be able to, because they had metal, like, pieces, tin, aluminum, whatever. These pieces here, they had spaced out so far in between the rock that, like, they had screwed in. Well, then the cement covered the screw holes, so he had to cut the screws out. So there's all kinds of screws sticking out of the drywall that he can't get out because they're cut now. So we just put all this stuff back here, so Ella's not gonna go back there and like get cut on it, but Tim thinks he's gonna have to demolish that all out there. He wants to take out these 2x4s right here and right here. We still gotta put drywall up back here, but take out these 2x4s just so that the walls like flush and it doesn't have like a weird jut out. But that is gonna be a project for another time. But like I said, come springtime, the inside of this house is gonna get messed up. So I don't know if we're still gonna build a wall here. I wanted to put a wall back here because when I first met Tim, this area right here and down used to be the end of the house. You didn't have all of this. His stepdad built on, or paid someone to build on this area, and it was an enclosed porch at the time. And then after we finally moved in here, after Tim's mom moved out and everything, like her doorway to her house was right here. So you had to come in that door to walk into a doorway that was right here, and then you had like her stove and stuff that was like for the vent or whatever for her stove. So you had to go through a doorway right here. They demolished out that wall and just made this into the kitchen to make the house bigger, which is fantastic. But that's why nothing got done, because that was what the process was. But then they ended up moving her out and into a newer house that was more like handicap accessible. So there's no cabinets or anything like that in here, which is why. So we're gonna eventually get that done too. But I don't, like I said, I don't know if we're gonna put this wall back here or not. No big deal if we don't. I don't care. He's gonna obviously enclose it so it's not looking like this. But right, that's just like studs right now. That's not leading to anything. It's just the framework. Don't mind the clutter. It's an absolute mess right now. But starting here, where it like lips down right here, this floorboard is all gonna get ripped out. It's all gonna be replaced. We had bought this vinyl. We had 2 rolls of it. I don't know what we did with the second one. But Tim was putting down this Luan stuff to kind of even out the floors. Those are the original, like, actual floorboards to the house. That's what's all getting ripped out and replaced. And then they have to fix the roof out here. So that's why we have this curtain. The roof fell a couple of years ago. We just haven't gotten around to fixing it. It's not like exposed outside, like the insulation and stuff still up there, but like the ceiling, it fell. So we have that blocked off so that Ella doesn't go out there. Plus it keeps the colder air that is coming through back that way. And plus we were using that for storage, so it wasn't like necessary to get fixed right away because there was no leaks or anything like that. So we are gonna have to get that fixed, and then we're gonna have to build the 3rd bedroom, get that all done up. I don't know if Tim's gonna have to rip out this drywall that we put up, like the blue wall here. I don't know if he's gonna have to rip that stuff out to do the floorboards or what, but we're gonna get that done. And then we're gonna have baby girl's room back here, right where that rock started, or like stopped on this side. Come on, turn on. So right where that 2x4 is, we're gonna have baby girl's room come up to about here and then back all that way, and then have a walkway between our room and her room. Have like a little hallway that leads you out into the sunroom. That's the ultimate game plan from what I'm assuming. But like I said, that stuff's not going to start happening until spring because Tim wants to rip out all of the floorboards before starting any more framework inside the house, because he wants to be able to completely, like I said, redo those floors, get them all ready to go, so that we don't have any more squeaky floors, rough floors, you know, what have you. Get all that stuff all figured out. And yeah, but as far as doctor me last night, I had to slightly become a doctor last night. So Tim was knocking down that rock. And I told him, I said, I think you should put on some shoes, or do you want to put on shoes or something like that? And he said no, that he will be fine. About 10 minutes later, he's knocking down the rock, and I thought a piece had landed on his foot. No, he lightly brushed up against a piece that had fallen down, and apparently it was sharp, and it got lodged in his foot. It cut him pretty deep. He got lightheaded. It wasn't from like blood loss. It was bleeding quite a bit, but it wasn't from like blood loss. Sometimes if he goes and gets blood work done and he sees them draw the blood out into the tube, he gets lightheaded. Not all the time, but sometimes. And I think because it was bleeding so much, like so profusely, it kind of made him a little lightheaded. So he was laying on the bathroom floor and I was doctoring his foot up. I washed my hands, gathered up like the peroxide. We have a wound care kit that Tim got for Ella pretty much, which came super handy. I had gotten some of these. If you guys don't take stuff from your doctor's office, then you're lying. But I got a couple of these types of things, like they'll put on you at like Bloodworks or whatever. They'll wrap it up a couple of times instead of putting a bandage. They'll put gauze and then wrap this. It's like self-sticky. I don't even know what it is, but I had 3 of those. I had a pink, a purple, and a blue. I used the blue on him because it was more manly, but I got that. I got gauze. I got non-stick pads. I got antibiotic ointment. I had rubbing alcohol, or not rubbing alcohol, I had peroxide. I had gloves. Like, I had everything just sitting down here in a pile on the floor. And I was, you know, taking care of his foot. We were using a towel at first because that's just what we had right there. It just happened to be like right there instead of him tracking blood everywhere to get from the rock area to the bathroom. So he was walking on the towel. He got in here. I was putting pressure on with the towel, but it wasn't helping to stop the bleed. So I opened up a gauze pad, put that on there, held it there for 2 or 3 minutes. It slowed the bleeding down. The bleeding, you can tell, was starting to like clot. But within those like 3 minutes, while I was holding that gauze there, I would check on it, and it obviously wasn't stopping. And I was panicking, and I like got the bleeding to stop just enough that I could like spread it apart and see how far he got in there. And I was 99% sure I was gonna have to take him to the ER and get stitches last night because it was so deep. So deep. But he laid down on the floor for a few minutes. He was fine after I got him all bandaged up, but he, you know, I got a warm washcloth. I wiped all the dirt and stuff off. I peroxide the cut, the wound. I dried it off, peroxided it like 3 or 4 times until it pretty much stopped bubbling, and then I dried the area really good with a fresh gauze pad, and then I got a non-stick pad. Oh, excuse me. And I just put the antibiotic ointment directly onto that because I didn't want to be rubbing my finger on the area and make it hurt or make it bleed more. So I just put it onto the non-stick pad, which is like a special type of gauze, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Put that on his foot and then wrapped his foot in that blue like self-adhesive stuff. I wrapped that a couple times extra tight. Not too tight, but like extra tight, just to help put that compress there to stop any other bleeding that may occur. Then last night before we went to bed at 4 a.m., we took it off. I peroxided it again, rubbed a little bit of the ointment on it, and we let it air out throughout the night. And I think he still has it aired out right now. He has socks on, but you know, he doesn't have like any kind of like dressing on it, so I think he should be okay. Just gonna keep it clean. He's limping a little bit. He said it doesn't hurt. He's just trying not to put too much pressure on it because he doesn't want it to start bleeding again. But his cut is like right here on the side of his foot by his big toe. You know, where this like bone sticks out. It just happened to be right there. So He's just being a little extra careful, but I was almost like I was like 99% sure I was gonna have to take him to the ER last night. And I was like, ugh. But luckily I managed to get the bleeding to stop. We took care of it. I've still been continuing to take care of it. Then I ordered our food for our friends to pick up when they were done eating. And then I went and I put on gloves and I wiped up all the blood that may have, like, that had dripped through on his way to the bathroom. It was just a few little spots here and there that had gone like through the towel. There was one spot though that, like, when it first happened, it was like completely soaked, which thankfully we're getting those floors ripped up because I could not get all the blood up out of the wood, which is fine. It was sitting there for a while, makes sense. Plus it was really saturated right there. So yeah, it was an eventful night. We ended up not going to bed until, like I said, about 4 o'clock. That's not when the noise like stopped. We stopped working around midnight, so Ella managed to fall asleep, you know, before we were done. But we were all done with the loud banging and stuff like that. We were just more or less cleaning up. I think my brother-in-law walked by, but anyways, yeah, so we got that all figured out. And then, like I said, it was, the loud noises were done and we were just cleaning up the rock, sweeping, kind of vacuuming type thing. That's why we decided not to do the floor last night, because we wanted her to be able to get some sleep. So we're gonna do the rock, I'm hoping by the end of the week, before I really deep clean everything, because it threw a lot of like debris into the air and I was wearing a mask and stuff like that, my respirator, just to make sure I wasn't breathing that stuff in, because obviously that's not good for me or for baby girl. So I was taking extra precautions and everything, but yeah, so it's been a long night. Like I said, our friends came, they brought us food. They took that wood burner over town, and then we just kind of BS'd with each other for a little while. I ended up not getting into bed until 4 o'clock. I think I fell asleep somewhere around 4:30. And then I remember looking at my phone at 5:15, and then next thing I knew, it was 8 o'clock and time to take Ella to school. Took Ella to school. I came home, got home around 10 o'clock. I laid down and went back to bed. I slept from, I wasn't able to go right to sleep. I think I fell asleep around 11. I slept until about 1:50. I guess Tim said he tried to wake me up around 1:30. And he could just tell that I was really tired, so he just let me sleep for that extra 20 minutes before I had to get up and go get Ella from school. But we're both still so exhausted, but Tim did get about like 2 extra hours of sleep more than me, because he did get to stay home while I had to take her to school. But I know it's gonna be worth it. The house is gonna get good. Yeah, it's gonna look good. It's gonna be finished, and I'm gonna be happy. I need something to happen, because hopefully we start getting the nicer weather sooner rather than later, and so we can start getting that room done, like everything. We don't start usually getting warm weather. It's hit or miss on my birthday, which is mid-March. Sometimes it's still snowing, sometimes it's nice and don't need like a heavy coat. But I'm thinking that we're not going to be able to really start the flooring until mid to late April, and it kills me. It absolutely hurts, because I know baby girl's room is not going to be ready by the time that she's born. Like, she might not even have walls at that point when she's born, so it's gonna suck. Like, it's really gonna suck. But I'm hoping that we can start that before Ellis gets out of school. We can have our friend come over at 8 o'clock, you know, get up and leave his house at 8 o'clock, get here around 8:30, 8:45, he can work clear through until Tim has to go to work at like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon and crank out a lot of work that needs done. Tim doesn't think it's going to take very long, maybe a month tops, to get everything all completely finished, but like with the way that things go, I'm expecting to not have baby girl's room finished until August or September, before I can even start building like her crib and stuff. And it's gonna drive me absolutely nuts because I gotta figure out a way to organize diapers and clothes and wipes, and hopefully she's not a formula baby, but if I have to, the formula in the bottles, stuff like that, because I don't want to use Ella's room because obviously that's her stuff, that's her room, and I don't want to have to go in there when she's asleep to get like a diaper or whatever, or like an extra change of clothes or blankets or, you know, what have you. So I'm thinking we're gonna take out the one stand in by the TV in our bedroom and put it in a cubicle organizer, and I can use that as like a makeshift dresser for the time being. And it's just, there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done, but Tim didn't want to get it done before we needed to because he didn't want to have that third room if we didn't need it. So like while I was able to get pregnant, not easily but not terribly hard, it was more or less this time the matter of staying pregnant that he wanted to wait till a decent amount of time has passed, and with me being halfway through my pregnancy at this point, we're starting to get some stuff done. My nesting is kicking in. I want to just clean everything and just, so we're working on that. We're getting stuff done that needs to get done before we can do the flooring, and it's exhausting, but it's gonna be worth it. So